Hi, my name is Shirsavar from Biricha Digital, and in this video we're going to talk about how the boost converter functions and how it manages to boost the voltage from a lower DC value to a higher DC value. So let us say that we have got an input voltage of 10 volts and we need to boost this up. For simplicity, let us say we want to boost it up to 20 volts. Doesn't matter. We start with our boost topology, which is an inductor, then a switch, then a diode, and then a capacitor. So for simplicity, let us say that our input voltage is 10 volts. And right at the beginning, just as we plug this in, there's no energy stored in the capacitor. Therefore, just before we start, the out, which is the voltage across the capacitor, is 0. You can see right now that we don't actually need to switch anything. As soon as you plug this in, even with the switch out of the circuit, there's 0 volts there. There is 10 volts here. The diode is forward biased, and therefore the current is going to flow immediately through here and down there, and the voltage across this is going to increase to become the same as the input voltage, which in our case is 10 volts. We haven't even started switching the switch yet. But for now, we've got 10 volts there and we've got 10 volts there. Then we turn on the switch. As soon as we turn on the switch, this point gets pulled down to ground because this is been turned on. If it's an ideal switch, this point is quite literally is tied to ground, which means that you have 10 volts there, 0 volts there, and the diode, in fact, goes out of the picture because it's reverse biased. So let me just remove it temporarily for now. And this one is shorted to ground because I have turned it on. So it will look something like this, right? For simplicity, I'm going to draw it straight up like so. There we go. That is my 10 volts. The switch was here. It's now on, so it's tied to ground. And we will have, therefore, current flowing down here, and the voltage across this will become 10 volts. We are storing energy in the inductor during the period that the switch is on. If you remember from school physics, the total energy stored will be half Li squared. Okay, so I have a stored energy in this inductor during the on period of my switch, and then I turn off my switch, or at least I try to. We know again from school physics that there will be a back EMF across this inductor as soon as I try to turn off the switch, and the back EMF will oppose the motion that is causing it. This was Faraday's and Lenz's law, which we studied all those years ago. Well, I studied all those years ago. And the back EMF of this is going to try to force the current to continue flowing the way it used to be flowing. So it used to flow this way, and a back EMF is going to be formed across it. Now, which way will this back EMF be? Will it be this way, or will it be this way? Well, it's going to have to be this way because the back EMF is trying to force the current to continue flowing the way that it used to go. Therefore, this end becomes positive, that end becomes negative, because we know that conventional current flows out of the positive terminal into the negative terminal. So I end up, therefore, with 10 volts here and another 10 volts there. So I've got my input voltage of 10 volts here, and then I've got another 10 volts there because of the back EMF of the inductor. Let me just draw this whereby I just flip that and put it there for simplicity, right? So I've got 10 volts. That was my V in of 10 volts. And this back EMF, positive is that way, negative is that way. So it's like another battery that sits there. And that is VL. And for simplicity, I'm saying that's another back EMF is another 10 volts. And look, one battery, two batteries sitting on top of each other is quite literally like putting two batteries in series. I have 20 volts. Okay, I have turned off the switch. The back EMF of the inductor is sitting on top of this battery, so I've got 20 volts now, and I've got, let me put the diode back in. Now I have 20 volts here, 10 volts there. Diode becomes forward biased, and therefore the energy that was stored in the inductor will form a current that's going to flow through here, and this is going to then go up to 20 volts. And this is how the boost inductor boosts the voltage up, by storing energy in the inductor, and then you interrupt the flow of the current. The back EMF that will form sits on top of the existing input voltage. So effectively the total voltage goes up, diode becomes forward biased, the voltage will get stored in the capacitor, the voltage here goes up. Then we need to discuss how the duty impacts the amount of voltage addition that we're going to add. Remember, I said that we are storing energy in the inductor. So obviously, if we keep the switch on for a short period of time, then we store little amounts of energy and our boost voltage will be small. If we keep the switch on for a long period of time, then we store a lot of energy in the inductor, and therefore the output voltage will be higher. The equation that governs this is V out of the boost inductor is equal to 1 minus D times V in, where my duty is D here. So if I turn my switch on for 10% of the time and keep it off for 90% of the time, so my duty is equal to 10%, according to that equation, V out will be equal to around 10% times V in. So if I had the V in of 10 volts, I'll get 11 volts out. If my duty is 50%, so I'm on for 50% of the time and off for 50% of the time, 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5. 1 divided by that, this becomes 2. So my V out would therefore be 2 times V in. In my case, it will be 2 times 10 volts. So V out will be 20 volts. And of course, if I make this 90% of the time on, 10% of the time off, then this will be a factor of 10 and V out will go up to 100. And that's how, by varying the duty, we can vary the output voltage using the back EMF of the inductor and the total energy that we store in it during the on period. Finally, like all other power supplies, we need a certain amount of compensation and other ancillary circuits. So what we need in particular, let me just remove all of this because the circuit is getting a little bit busy. This is my boost power stage. First, I need a control loop, so I need some compensating components, and that for a boost takes a form of a type 2 compensator. Of course, we're going to discuss exactly how we calculate each and every one of these components in the workshop. We have my compensating components, then that goes in a chip. Internal to a chip, there is an op amp. Internally, the non-inverting is tied to a reference. The inverting gets connected to these, and the output gets connected to my compensating components, which look something like this. Again, during the online workshop, we teach exactly how you calculate all these values. Then we will have a soft start capacitor. We will have some kind of a clock, which is usually either a C or an R and a C. So that is C clock, that is R clock, and that goes typically to a clock pin. Then we will have some current sensing in order to trip for overcurrent, usually with a sense resistor. Let's call this R sense. That goes to I sense. The output of the chip will be the PWM, which typically goes through a gate resistor, R gate. Again, we will discuss how you size this in the workshop. Q1, that's my MOSFET. D1, that's my power diode. This is my boost inductor L1. We will discuss exactly how you calculate these. I've got C out, and then typically we also need a certain amount of input capacitance. In fact, we've already done a video on how to size these, and we discuss this in detail and provide you with tools. And we call this C in, my input capacitance. There you go. That is the grand total boost converter with all the important components that we're going to discuss, how we're going to calculate them, and provide you with tools which will actually do the calculations for you. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in our online workshop.